Every living thing that has ever existed on Earth has died, or will die, or is dying right now. Every bacterium, every tree, every blue whale, every human being who has ever drawn breath. The process varies in duration and in mechanism, but the direction has been consistent across 4 billion years of life on this planet. Life runs in one direction, from birth toward death, and nothing has ever successfully reversed it. Except one thing. There's a jellyfish, approximately 4 to 5 millimeters in diameter, found in tropical and subtropical oceans worldwide, that when stressed, injured, starved, or simply old enough, does not die. It reverts. It transforms its adult cells back into juvenile cells, reconstructs itself as a polyp, the earliest stage of its life cycle, and begins again. It has done this an unknown number of times. There is no confirmed upper limit on the number of times it can do it. It is, in the specific and technical sense of the word, biologically immortal. Its name is Turritopsis dohrnii. It is the only animal confirmed to be capable of complete biological rejuvenation. It is the size of a pinhead. And understanding what it actually does, and how, and why it matters, will take the next 11 minutes. The jellyfish life cycle, for most species, works like this. An adult jellyfish, the medusa, reproduces sexually, releasing eggs and sperm into the water. The fertilized egg becomes a larva, the planula, which settles onto a hard surface and becomes a polyp, a small cylindrical structure attached to the substrate. The polyp reproduces asexually, budding off young medusae that grow into adult jellyfish and eventually reproduce and die. The cycle is linear, polyp to medusa to death, with reproduction in between. Turritopsis dohrnii follows this cycle, and then, when conditions require it, it reverses it. The process is called transdifferentiation, and it is one of the most remarkable cellular phenomena in biology. Transdifferentiation is the conversion of one type of differentiated cell, a cell that is already committed to being a specific kind of cell, a muscle cell, or a nerve cell, or a skin cell, into a completely different type of differentiated cell, without passing through an undifferentiated stem cell stage in between. In most organisms, differentiated cells are committed. A muscle cell is a muscle cell. It divides to produce more muscle cells. It has not become a nerve cell. The differentiation is one of the most fundamental features of multicellular life, the specialization of cells into specific types that perform specific functions, and it is essentially irreversible in most animals. The machinery of development runs forward. Cells become more specialized as an organism matures, not less. This forward direction is so fundamental that for most of the history of biology, it was considered a defining feature of animal development. Turritopsis dohrnii runs it backward. When the jellyfish initiates the reversal process, its differentiated adult cells begin converting into different cell types. Muscle cells become nerve cells. Skin cells become muscle cells. Cells that were committed to being one thing become something else entirely. And the something else they become is the cell types of an earlier developmental stage. The adult medusa, with all its adult complexity, does not simply shrink or simplify. It actively reorganizes its cellular identity, its cells changing what they are rather than what they do, and in doing so reconstructs the body plan of a juvenile polyp from the material of an adult jellyfish. The result is a new polyp that is genetically identical to the medusa that produced it, but that is, in every cellular and developmental sense, young again. Its cells have been reset. Their epigenetic state, the specific pattern of gene activation that determines what kind of cell a cell is, has been rewritten. The polyp that emerges from this process is not an old organism in a young body. It is, by the measure of cellular age, simply young. This polyp will grow, develop, bud off new medusae, and those medusae will eventually age, become stressed, and reverse again. The cycle has no necessary endpoint. There is no accumulated cellular damage that prevents the reversal from succeeding, no progressive deterioration that makes the reset incomplete. As long as the jellyfish is not eaten, does not succumb to disease, and is not killed by some external force, there is no known mechanism by which it must die. The biologist who first documented this reversal process, Christian Sommer, was a German student studying jellyfish in Rapallo, Italy, in the 1980s. He was not looking for biological immortality. He was doing routine work on jellyfish reproduction and noticed that his Turritopsis dohrnii specimens, instead of dying when stressed, were transforming into polyps. He published his observations. They received modest attention, and for several years the phenomenon remained an interesting footnote in jellyfish biology rather than the subject of intensive investigation. The scientific community's interest sharpened significantly in the 1990s and 2000s as the implications became clearer and as researchers began to understand the cellular mechanism well enough to connect it to the broader problem of aging. The problem of aging is, at its cellular core, the problem of why differentiated cells cannot reset their developmental clock. If Turritopsis dohrnii has found a mechanism for doing exactly this, then understanding that mechanism is understanding something fundamental about why the rest of us cannot. The current research focus is on the specific molecular machinery that enables Turritopsis dohrnii's transdifferentiation. What genes are activated? What proteins are produced? What epigenetic marks are erased and rewritten? And by what mechanism? The answers to these questions would not immediately produce human immortality. The gap between a jellyfish's cellular mechanism and the complexity of a human body is vast, but they would represent a significant advance in understanding the basic biology of aging, which is one of the least understood processes in all of medicine despite being universal. The research is complicated by the jellyfish's size and fragility. Turritopsis dohrnii is small enough to be disrupted by the slightest current in the water around it. It is transparent, which makes certain types of observation easier and others harder. It is difficult to maintain in laboratory conditions. Stimulating the reversal process reliably requires specific stressors applied at specific life stages, and the reversal takes days to weeks to complete, during which the jellyfish must be kept alive and observed continuously. The researcher who has spent the most time on this problem is Shin Kubota, a marine biologist at Kyoto University's Seto Marine Biological Laboratory, who has maintained a colony of Turritopsis dohrnii in his laboratory since the 1990s and who has induced the reversal process in his specimens more times than any other researcher. Kubota, who is by all accounts an unusually dedicated scientist, has described his work on the jellyfish as a consuming obsession, has written songs about the jellyfish, and has stated in interviews that the jellyfish may hold the key to conquering human aging. Whether or not the jellyfish holds that key, it is doing something that nothing else in the animal kingdom has been confirmed to do, and the doing of it is extraordinary on its own terms regardless of its medical implications. The immortality, to be clear, is biological rather than practical. Turritopsis dohrnii is eaten by fish, by other jellyfish, by sea turtles, and by anything else in the ocean that eats zooplankton. It succumbs to disease. It is killed by changes in water temperature, salinity, and chemistry. The reversal mechanism does not protect it from external threats. It protects it only from internal aging, from the specific process by which a body wears out from within. This distinction is important because it reveals what aging actually is from a biological perspective. Aging is not the same as dying. Aging is the accumulation of cellular changes over time that progressively reduce the organism's ability to maintain itself, reproduce successfully, and respond to external challenges. It is an internal process driven by molecular mechanisms, and it is this internal process that Turritopsis dohrnii has found a way to reverse. The reversal is not triggered randomly. It appears to be a stress response, a mechanism activated when the organism's survival is threatened by starvation, injury, disease, or environmental change. This makes evolutionary sense. An organism that can survive temporary adverse conditions by reverting to an earlier developmental stage, waiting out the difficult period as a polyp, and then resuming adult life when conditions improve has a survival advantage in variable environments. The immortality is a side effect, or perhaps a feature, of a mechanism that evolved primarily as a stress response rather than as a specific solution to aging. This is a recurring pattern in biology. The mechanism that produces the most remarkable capability was not specifically selected for that capability. The tardigrade's cryptobiosis evolved as a drought survival mechanism, not as a means of surviving space. The mantis shrimp's club evolved as a prey capture device, not as a physics demonstration. Turritopsis dohrnii's transdifferentiation evolved as a stress response, not as immortality. The immortality is what happens when a stress response is thorough enough to address the cellular basis of aging, which the reversal happens to do as a consequence of what it must do to work at all. To reset the body to a juvenile state, you must reverse the cellular changes that aging produces. To reverse those cellular changes, you must be able to reprogram differentiated cells into earlier developmental states. And if you can do that, you can do it indefinitely, because the reprogramming restores the cellular capacity to undergo reprogramming again. The mechanism is self-perpetuating in a way that most biological mechanisms are not. Most repair mechanisms in living organisms are finite. They fix a specific type of damage up to a specific threshold, and beyond that threshold, the damage accumulates faster than the repair can address it. Turritopsis dohrnii's reversal mechanism is not patching damage. It is resetting the system to a state in which damage has not yet occurred, which means the reset capacity is restored along with everything else. It is, in computational terms, not a patch but a restore from backup. And the backup is the organism's own juvenile state, which is always available because the cellular machinery for producing it is encoded in the same genome that produces the adult. The jellyfish does not think about any of this. It has no brain. It has a nerve net, a diffuse network of neurons distributed through its body that coordinates its movements and its responses to stimuli, but nothing that corresponds to a brain in the vertebrate sense. Nothing that produces cognition or awareness or experience in any way that we would recognize. The most biologically revolutionary animal on Earth has no idea what it is. It pulses through the water, trailing its tentacles catching the zooplankton it eats. And when the conditions become adverse enough, it does the thing that nothing else in the animal kingdom can do, and it does it without knowing it is doing it, without knowing it is extraordinary, without knowing that laboratories full of scientists are trying to understand the molecular details of the process it is executing. It just does it, and then it is young again, and the ocean continues around it, full of things that will try to eat it before it ever needs to reverse again. Because the ocean does not care about biological immortality, and neither does the fish that is about to eat this particular specimen of Turritopsis dohrnii before it gets the chance to demonstrate its capabilities. The immortal jellyfish is the most OP thing in the ocean. It is also the size of a pinhead, completely transparent, and gets eaten constantly. This is, in the end, the most honest summary of what the immortal jellyfish's situation actually is. An organism with an unprecedented biological capability, deployed in a world that has many mechanisms for ending any organism's existence regardless of what that organism can do internally. The capability is real. The immortality is real. The fish eating it right now is also real. Evolution solves problems. It does not solve all problems simultaneously. The jellyfish that evades the fish and the ocean's temperature changes and the disease and the predators and all the other forces that kill things regardless of their cellular age, that jellyfish will never die of old age. In a world with enough problems to be solved, that is a remarkable thing to be able to say.